Hey, it's Tim Lundquist again. This is Chapter 3, Smart Land Planning and Green Communities. This is close to my heart. This is what I love to do. And we're talking about nothing short but restoring the social and economic vitality of small-town rural America. I'm going to take you through a set of slides of how we got there and how we can solve this, that you're just going to be amazed at how far off track we got. And here we get started on it. All right, this is typical in rural America. I mean, the way the subdivision regulations are drawn is that you need a certain amount of frontage on a road, and you can build a lot. Somebody can cut up their land into these different shapes, and then sell each one of the lots individually, and then people build their own homes. I mean, there's nothing really wrong with it. It's just that there's no real connection between the houses or the way the landscape is, and there's no shared land. There's no place for kids to throw a baseball or anything. But that's not the real problem. Here comes the problem. These are the track house plans that dominate the landscape of rural America. It's extraordinary, but in the 1950s and 60s, engineers from places like Long Island and suburban Los Angeles came to rural America and sold to the planning boards and the planning agencies the same set of subdivision regulations that they had used in these suburban settings in Long Island. So you had this extraordinary craziness of these big rural farm areas with these very dense, high-speed roads and traffic. We still have this in Columbia County, where you need to build 50-mile-an-hour roads to service houses. It's just the craziest thing ever. And the other thing is that there's no context to the development. It could be anywhere in the country. Yeah? You understand? So here's another example. This is actually in northern Dutchess County in Pine Plains. And here's a dairy farm that, finally sold off his southern field, and in came the McMansion row. And that in a couple of years they're going to be complaining enough about the smell of his manure facilities that eventually they'll start to push back on him. And this number at the bottom, we had 10% of the number of dairy farms in Dutchess County since 1975. We had 334, now we have 34. We are changing the face of rural America because of this bad form of design. This is another Toll Brothers. That was a Toll Brothers project, by the way. Toll Brothers is the largest luxury home builder, luxury in quotation marks. But here's one that they've done out in the middle of rural Pennsylvania, which is really just a knockout because it could be on a downtown street in Houston. It had no connection at all with the landscape around it. We won't even bother with that. And now here's where it's gotten to the absolute craziest. The subdivision regulations require a 150-foot wide front lot line for the suburban setting of the houses next to each other on a suburban block. So here in LaGrange, which is right in northern Dutchess, right on our line of Columbia County, you see this taken to its totally ridiculous result. This is a mountaintop. They've cut the road into it. They've made these 100-foot wide lots that are now 1,000 feet long because in order to meet the 5-acre requirements, so they don't have to do septic testing on them. And it's only, if you look down on the bottom left, you'll see that it's only part of a much, much larger subdivision. And then they're building these houses, cheek to jowl. They're right next door to each other. They're quite extraordinary. They're set next to each other, and then there's in between them is the air conditioning units. So you've got the 30 feet between the houses, but then the air conditioning is like a no man's land. So you're building these huge McMansions that completely out of context and completely useless piece of land behind them. It's quite extraordinary. So this is the Toll Brothers board. This is sitting here. That's Robert Toll with his balding spot looking forward down that thing. And that's, if you can't see it, but in the quote from the New York Times, it says, the weekly meeting of Toll Brothers is the answer. The question is how much land is being acquired, and the answer is never enough. This is the national home building industry has defined our rural future and profited from the development and defined the experience of living here. It is just totally unacceptable going forward. And now that this system is completely collapsed, and people aren't interested in 5,000-foot McMansions anymore, we have an opportunity to really change this for the much better. So the stewardship companies, our outfit, Bluebird is the planning and the consultancy. The stewardship companies are the actual brands for the companies. We're the leaders in planning, development, and management of agriculturally supported family homesteads, from a single house to a multifamily compound to a master plan farm community. Our strongest single feature is that we include a profitable gardening operation, professionally run gardening operation in our communities and in our homes. So it changes the economics of real estate. It really does, of rural real estate. With this professionally operated garden, the residents are eating the freshest food possible for those 25 or 30 weeks a year, and then the sales off-site reduce or eliminate their food costs. The maintenance and the taxes are reduced through agricultural exemptions, and for the majority of the land, and the actual, in some cases, we project that the actual taxes on the houses will be virtually covered as well. So the first project that we did on this kind of basis was the stewardship on Millbrook Road, and it was granted approvals in January 2008. I designed, it's a 225-acre project, 48 homes. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but the whole idea of these projects is that they're really designed to encourage a daily connection with nature, and you won't be able to see it, but this brown tone in the middle illustration on the left is all the shared agricultural landscape. The entire property is surrounded by your intermingling with farm and produce being produced for profit as well as for consumption on site. So here's the irony of it, is that the good design of this project, even though it was the largest project in Columbia County, actually it was approved very quickly because, you know, at the end of the day, everybody really does want to do the right thing. They want to be part of the solution. It's just that nobody's been proposing them. So here I'm just going to take you quickly through the environmental design goals. We use a set of patterns for the community design, for the nature and sustainability, for shared facilities, and for the stewardship house. And these all have these elements in common that make for a much more integrated and much more friendly place to live. So the goals are the same, whether it's a single-family homestead to a rural planned community. It's always designed to give you a creative country experience supported by restorative agriculture sold to metropolitan customers. This is a farmland stewardship. We're in the current process of designing up in Schoharie County, and it's another example of a different type, but this typology will be a more affordable typology with its own systems, and we can go into that later. Here's a preliminary study for a full, complete eco-village, as well as individual houses and a big organic production garden inside of what used to be a racetrack at the top of the project. This is an interesting little project we're designing, which is a garden stewardship, meaning that it's a 12-lot small working class neighborhood with a pond in the middle of it, but it has these big production gardens up on the top that produce more food than can be eaten by the 12 houses, but it'll be sold locally at a farm stand, so that'll help with taxes and support it. So, you know, these good community planning ideas, they have this kind of shared intention or theme, you know, where people have something in common. So it might be that they're wild bird nuts, or let's see, fine gardening or horticultural. I mean, if somebody's going to move to the country, wouldn't it be great to have neighbors that enjoy gardening as much as you did? Culturally enhanced retirement. I mean, retirement communities that are near colleges and in near towns, work, play, farmland stewardship, natural horsemanship, first home rental. I mean, nobody's even looked at what happens with all these kids coming out of school, going to get their first job, and they're getting into their first community setting. And so these are all areas to be explored, and many, many more as well. So this completes Chapter 3, Land and Smart Community Planning. I hope you've been enjoying the series. I hope you carry on with it. You can always contact us at bluebirdgroup.com, thebluebirdgroup.com, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks again.